Welcome everyone to session 3 of our climate-friendly school meals training and peer learning series. Today's session will be about student engagement, marketing strategies, and some taste testing guidance. I'm really excited to welcome you all today. We've got a great list of speakers. We are recording. Just as a heads up, some little housekeeping. Please introduce yourself in the chat. If you could teleport anywhere right now, where would you go? We're going to be really discussion focused today, but we're also going to be sharing a lot of resources. So get your notepads out, shall I say? I am Emma Finn. I am Friends of the Earth's climate-friendly school food program associate, but my hands are in many hats. Or wearing many gloves. I work primarily on student and community engagement, but I also support our research efforts and various technical assistance resources for school districts. So if I could teleport anywhere right now, I would have to say Corfu, which is an island off of Greece. If anyone has seen the TV show The Durrells in Corfu, I highly recommend it. It is a PBS masterpiece. Bali sounds amazing. I'm also very jealous of my colleague in Puerto Rico, Nora Stewart, who's there right now. Lucy would go to Paris. We've got a lot of Spaniards. Amazing. Tahiti, love that. Oh, this is so great. Ooh, I echo the urge to go to Ireland as well. I've got some ancestry and I would love to just kind of take a tour there. Costa Rica, all right. Zeta, you got to hop on a plane and join Nora. That's awesome. Prince Edward Island in Canada. Oh, yes, that sounds beautiful, actually. I did like a research report on that area when I was in college. That's amazing. The Mediterranean, yeah, I would go there just for a food tour, Paula. That's amazing. South of France, we've got Joy from Meatless Mondays. It's so wonderful to see everyone. Welcome, welcome. All right, here we go. Rosa, love it. Love it. Anywhere with a beach and coconut water. This is awesome. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. We've got a rich agenda full of speakers and resources, as I mentioned before. We're going to start off with some Padlet questions around student engagement, which is really to get you guys thinking about why we emphasize student engagement with meal service, specifically around climate-friendly school food. We're going to then go to Janelle Manzano from San Diego Unified. She'll be going over some student engagement strategies that she's implemented at the district. Then we're going to move into a one-on-one chat with Michael Jochner of Morgan Hill Unified School District. We're calling it Let Us Chat, aka Let Us Chat. Then we're going to follow up with some marketing materials from Meatless Monday. And then we're going to go into breakout sessions around marketing materials. And then we're going to close out. So we got a rich agenda. Before we get to all of your answers, I hope you're starting to populate the Padlet that Nora just dropped in the chat. If you want to click on that link and start answering some of those questions, I just want to briefly recap what we're talking about when we discuss climate-friendly school food. What does that really mean? And so it really means foods that have a lower carbon and water footprint, which are plant-based foods, which have the lowest carbon footprints. And for school food service, that really means menus that are more plant-based, incorporating plant-forward meal service. We also emphasize organic farming practices because we care about how food is produced, and food that does not end up in the landfill. So one thing that we are including in this definition is low food waste and low food packaging waste. And actually our session in 2 weeks, we'll talk about that more. So great. So if everyone could jump to the Padlet activity, I'd love to see what folks are now populating there. Let's see. As my screen loads. Awesome. Great. So the questions we have for you in the Padlet are really about student engagement. We'll jump into marketing later, but right now we really want to talk about student engagement. So what do you value about student engagement? If you have any questions, please pose those on this Padlet. What were you doing to engage students prior to the pandemic, and what are you doing now? How do you conduct taste tests, if applicable? And what are your goals? What are your goals around student engagement for the future? Feel free to star whichever ones you resonate with. Buy-in and awareness. Love that. Create more joyful and connected experiences. This is great. Yeah, so feel free. I'm going to give everyone a couple more seconds here, but keep populating, and this link will remain open throughout our session today. All right. Can everyone see the PowerPoint again? Great. That's just really to start us off as to why we're talking about student engagement today. At Friends of the Earth, we really believe that it's critical for long-term success. As Sarah emphasized, students are the customers, so their engagement can really help develop a lasting relationship, and we've seen that with her work at Milpitas USD. I also want to shout out Alva, who's on the call. She's got some really engaged students at Palo Alto. And they're getting involved by promoting because they really care about climate-friendly school meals, and they want other students to be engaged as well. And they want to see the program grow in that direction. So when it comes to student engagement, I would suggest trying a variety of methods. And the whole theme today is really, to provide you all with a variety of examples and sources of inspiration for you all to try on at your district, right? Like whatever speaks to your team is what you should try out first. And think creatively. How can students be ambassadors for your program? Is it an art competition to create posters for the new menu items? You could come up with a variety of ideas, or working with classrooms, right? So just want you to get some inspiration from today's call. At Friends of the Earth, this is what student and community engagement looks like. It's me providing presentations to students, to classrooms, to parent-teacher associations, school boards, whatever you want. I'd be happy to support, explain what climate-friendly school food service is, what you're doing, etc. We created the student action webpage, which is full of resources, and it's really for students, but there's other ways in which you guys might benefit from checking out what's available there and directing students toward this website. We offer one-on-one ongoing support for projects and campaigns for climate-friendly school food. So for example, Sarah, I've been working with her since last year, and I've helped her, with email communication with her food service director and planning what an Earth Day celebration would look like to support climate-friendly school meal service at Milpitas Unified School District. So that's kind of the one-on-one ongoing support. I also serve as a liaison with food service directors and departments. So introducing food service staff to students that are interested in engaging with nutrition service teams or vice versa. Forthcoming, we are very excited to be putting this together. We've got a really rich spreadsheet now of a bunch of our partner resources, and that this partner resource spreadsheet is going to live on a new educator resource webpage. And on this webpage will exist a template PowerPoint so that anyone can present on climate-friendly school food. And, there's talking points, there's a whole document that could guide you through a presentation around climate-friendly school food. There's also a supplemental document with discussion questions and guiding answers. And so we're calling it an educator resource webpage, but this could be, students educating other students, or nutrition service directors educating their staff. So that's just very close to being published, and we're excited to be sharing that with you all very soon. At Friends of the Earth, we have done numerous case studies, and if you have an inspiring story you want to share, we are happy to feature you in a case study. We've got a great communications team, and this is one way of marketing your climate-friendly school food options and story at your district. We also provide marketing materials to school districts, so we can create customized, posters or postcards for your climate-friendly school menu items. And that's something that Friends of the Earth offers as part of our technical assistance, our free technical assistance. We already have this really great Lentil Postcard, which we created really in collaboration with Erin Primer at San Luis Coastal Unified, because she was doing this Thai basil lentil burger. But we have this postcard that could be used universally. And so if you want access to a copy, we can send you a file of the high resolution postcard. So please email us, climatefriendlyfood@foe.org. I also wanted to share some of the resources that Meatless Monday has. Now, Joy will be speaking soon, but they have such an incredible amount of resources on their website. You could get lost and spend an entire day just looking at the research or the menu templates, the recipes, etc. So shout out to Meatless Monday and the resources they have for school districts. Food Corps has some guidebooks that I highly recommend folks check out. And all of these links will be available with the PowerPoint presentation after this, but Nora has dropped them in the chat as well. Lean and Green Kids, and that's for some reason saying I can't see the word scoop, but it's supposed to say the Daily Scoop, which is their free monthly newsletter, which has a bunch of resources for nutrition tips that you could use at school broadcasting systems. They also have some posters, and they actually have a lot of multicultural themes around beans and legumes, which is really important when we're talking about, culturally relevant, climate-friendly school food. Now, I'd love for you all to drop your social media handles in the chat if you have them, because I just wanted to share some social media inspiration that I've seen recently. And this is one way in which, school districts are marketing their climate-friendly school food service. We've got the chimichurri bowl. We've got you have to follow Michael Jochner to stay up to date on all the progress of his lettuce growing, et cetera, et cetera. So here are some of the social media accounts we've been following. I'd love to follow yours. So please drop yours in the chat if you want us to take a look and share yours too. Next, I'd love to transition it to Janelle Manzano from San Diego Unified School District. She is the Farm to School Student Engagement Specialist, and I couldn't be more excited. You guys are in good hands when it comes to student engagement and taste testing. So without further ado, Janelle.
Aw, thanks for the introduction, Emma. Hi, everyone. Janelle here with San Diego Unified Food Nutrition Services. I am the Farm to School Program Specialist, as Emma just mentioned. And yeah, I'll be talking about my student engagement programs that I do here with our district. Next slide, please. Cool, so here's a little agenda of what I'll be talking about today. Nutrition education, taste testings, and marketing strategies. As farm to school specialist, I kind of really try to incorporate all three components of farm to school, where it's local procurement, nutrition education, and school gardens. When I first started working here and in farm to school in general, I noticed a lot of these different components, and folks that work in the gardens or in the classrooms for nutrition education and for food services kind of all work in their own realm. And I really wanted to incorporate them and have them collaborate together, because I always feel that, you know, if we're serving all these amazing local foods in the cafeteria, but no one's teaching the kids how to eat it, then, you know, then they won't eat it and they won't be familiar with how to. My best example right now is actually our harvest of the month is kumquats here in San Diego. We've had kumquats for many, many years. One of my favorite harvest of the month produce, and it's amazing to see how the kids change their perspective on how to eat a kumquat simply just by telling them how to eat it. I always tell them to like massage it in their hands, roll it, get it nice and soft, getting all the sweet juices out, then have them smell it and then eat it. And if you've ever had a kumquat, it's really, really sour at first, but I tell the students, you know, the more you chew, the sweeter it gets. And it's crazy and it's hilarious to watch their faces change from sour to like, oh, this isn't that bad. And then all of a sudden, my food services cafeteria workers they're calling me and they're like, we're running out of kumquats because now the students actually know how to eat them instead of throwing them at each other. So this is one example of nutrition education, how taste testings really help bring up and lift up school food programming. Because once again, if you could serve all this amazing food, and my team does a great job in serving all this amazing food, but we have to promote it strategically. And that's kind of where I come in. Here's just some background information of San Diego Unified. We are the second largest school district here in California. So we serve a lot of sites, a lot of students. We have over 150,000 students here in our district, over 200 sites in San Diego as well. These are pre-COVID stats, so just keep that in mind, but still serving lots of children. So keep that in mind when I do what I do and as we tell our story. Go ahead, next slide. So getting into my nutrition education programming, I do a lot of these nutrition education programs, and me being one person, it can be tough going out there to all these school sites, 200 of them, again, being one person. So one thing I tried to do pre-COVID was assemblies, so hitting 200, 300 kids in 1 hour. That was really, really helpful pre-COVID. But with COVID started and distance learning happened, I started offering virtual presentations. I'm still hitting a lot of students in one time, and I'm still doing even classroom visits every once in a while too, but really trying to gain and scale up my programming so that I could reach as many students as possible, so that everyone is knowing what our program's about. Because I sometimes have one school site calling me every year, and their students are great and they know what's happening in the cafeteria, they know how to use a salad bar. We want the whole school district to know what's happening in their cafeteria. I also make sure I connect my presentations to what's happening on the school menu. For example, if I'm teaching Eat the Rainbow, then I'm also connecting that with their salad bar, for example, things like that. And if we're talking about whole grain foods, I connect it with their whole grain hot dog bread or their hamburger buns, because sometimes they're like, I think it's burnt, Miss Janelle. I'm like, no, it's whole grain. That's supposed to be brown in that color. And it really, again, connects them with the lesson, with what they're being served in the cafeteria, so that they can really see the connection there. Something else I've been offering with our teachers, they've all been really interested in a lot of videos. So we have a ton of videos on our YouTube page, and we have like Harvest of the Month farmer videos where one of our dietitians actually went out and videotaped and did a virtual farm tour of all Harvest of the Month farms. And I've been slowly adding to that, video library, as I call it, with a bunch of nutrition education, recipes, more virtual field trips, and garden activities that my food corps service members even created as well during the pandemic. And they've been used quite a bit still today. So that's some nutrition education. Next slide. And then definitely, like I mentioned already, I really transitioned into virtual nutrition education. Something new this school year that I started was a monthly Zoom class that anyone in the district can tune into. It's 15 minutes, making it really accessible for any teacher to tune in. I tried to make it K-12. Majority of it is K-8, of course, with high school being like maybe like I'm talking in a very enthusiastic voice. High schoolers are a little different crowd to please, but anyone can technically join. I've had a variety of students join in. Sometimes it reaches like 400, 500 students in one Zoom class. And together once a month, we learn what the harvest of the month is. So this past month, I had many students tune in onto the Zoom, rubbing and massaging and learning how to eat a kumquat. It was very fun. And then something else I just added this school year is virtual cooking classes. These are my 2 food course service members. They had this idea to really, again, promote what's on the menu. This is a picture from us last month. We promoted our breakfast menu items doing sweet treat items. So we took our cereals and our oats and our dried cranberries and taught students how to make new recipes with them, because they might be getting tired of eating cereal every day or want to make something new and different. Tonight, actually, I'm going there right after this presentation. We're promoting our savory items like our take-home quesadillas, our take-home cheesy garlic breads. And so we're going to make recipes like pesto and adding rainbow vegetables to their quesadillas so that they can learn and be more enthusiastic and be creative with their meals, that we even bring them home for their supper menu items. So those are just some ways I incorporate virtual tastings and classes. Speaking of tastings, I do a lot of tastings in the cafeteria, primarily Harvest of the Month. And then in the past, pre-COVID, we were doing a lot of manager special tastings, new menu items. If we have a menu item that we're very excited about, but maybe the students aren't aware of it and it's low participation, I'll go out there too and make sure that hype the students out about it. Like, for example, we used to have these build your own ramen bars or build your own nacho bars, and the kids be like, what do you mean have to build my own? It's like, it's so much fun. Let me show you how to do it. So those are some ways that we do taste testings in the cafeteria. I've been doing a lot of Harvest of the Month lately. Here are just some photos of my food court gal with her gallery of everyone doing the tally marks to tell her if they liked it or not. And then here's a salad and our kumquat tasting from last week, actually. So that's one way in the cafeteria I do tastings. Next slide. And then again, me being one person in the whole district, I'm really trying to incorporate and get more helpers, get more hands to scale up and reach more students. So I developed these classroom taste kits that teachers can rent out, and I delivered them cutting boards and knives and the Harvest of the Month, and then I give them a video that they can watch, or they tune into my monthly live Zoom, and then everyone can watch the videos. And then they could taste it in the classroom, and then they'll see it in the cafeteria. So that's been our new program this year. That was sponsored by the CDFA Farm to School grant, and it's been so fun. We've been reaching thousands of students, and it's been really cool to have teachers helping me out and helping be part of the voice and promote school food in that way too. I also partner with the culinary classes, the STEAM department, and etc. I think that was on the last slide still. Yeah, so anyways, that's just one way I do classroom taste testings. Hi. Next slide now. Had a visitor in the room. And then of course, I also incorporate school gardens. The third component of Farm to School is school gardens. And one example I have for this is my goal to partner with them closely is I noticed that some students when I was observing a school garden class at one of the Sage Gardens, it's a wonderful organization, they were telling me that the students would pick the carrot from the soil, and then they'd see this amazing carrot, and then they go to the salad bar, be like, these aren't the same carrots. Ew, I don't want these carrots. Or they diss their parents' carrots at home. And, we don't want that type of language. We want to partner with them. We want, again, uplift one another, uplifting the garden, what they grow in there, uplifting what they see on the salad bar, and making sure that the students are making the connection that the carrots that you grow in the garden, it's wonderful. You're also getting carrots with tons of nutrition from the salad bar or in the cafeteria, things like that, so that kids are really not putting one against another. They should be working together. So I partner with school garden educators. I send them some produce, and then they make some awesome recipes. Like right here was our golden kiwis. The students tasted it in the garden, and then they also made some smoothies out of it. And again, these garden educators, they know what's going on in our menus, and I update them what's going on in food services as well. So another great way to collaborate with educators. All right, so switching gears to marketing strategies, I do have a monthly newsletter. We call it Farm Fresh Bites, and I use Canva, and I love Canva. I switched to that format this year, and it's been really fun. And I think a lot of parents and community members really pertain to it. It's a very fun thing to look through, and just a lot of visuals and upcoming events, what our Harvest of the Month is, resources for the teachers, etc. And then the things that we've been doing around the district so that everyone knows what's happening as well. And then, of course, we already dropped our social media platforms in the chat room, but here's our San Diego Farm to School, and that's kind of just where I post anything from our events to what our Harvest of the Month is, new things on the menu, and that's a great way, again, to communicate to our parents, principals, community partners, and teachers and faculty. Next slide. Okay, so I know my role in the school district is pretty unique. I know not a lot of folks have a farm to school specialist to kind of do all these things and manage taste tests and nutrition classes that kind of promote school food, but there are some great opportunities out there to help have someone like me potentially. I know the CDFA Farm to School grant, they have education integration part in their track 1 grant, and so look into that and see if you can incorporate a position like mine in your district. And then I love my food corps service members. I was a food corps service member myself in Oakland, and that's kind of how I got into farm to school and like really fell in love with school food and nutrition education. So I know that they have applications like right now. I think they have 2 more weeks of those. So look into that. Reach out to food corps to see if they're in your area. But they're another great way to utilize folks and people to go out there and promote school food in your district. And I think that's it. That's all I have for everyone today. I know I had a lot, so I spoke fast. So if you have questions, please let me know in the chat. Here's my email if you want to connect as well. But yeah, I think I covered it with 3 minutes to spare, Emma. So
oh my gosh.
Thanks, everyone.
If anyone has some questions for Janelle, please feel free to come off mute and ask or drop them in the chat. I think she did kind of talk about what someone actually, messaged me in the chat about is how do I get a Janelle at my district, essentially. And so, yeah, I think it's amazing that San Diego has you as an incredible resource and really a superhero, I would say, of farm to school programming in California. So awesome. Suzanne, I think you have a raised hand here.
Thank you so much. Hey, Janelle, you wouldn't happen to have a job description of what you do that you could share with me?
Yeah, for sure. I've been getting that, especially with the CDFA grants from last year and this year coming out. But yeah, shoot me an email and I could get you that job description.
Thank you so much. And
of
congratulations on all your work. Great job.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much. All right. All right. Next up is our Let Us Chat with Michael Jochner. Michael Jochner is the Nutrition Service Director at Morgan Hill Unified School District, where he has brought fresh salad bars, speed scratch cooking, meatless Mondays, vegetarian and/or vegan options daily, and a new hydroponics farm to the school district, partnering with local farms, nonprofit groups, and businesses alike, lunch assist to help support and grow his program. Prior to working for the school district, Michael was a chef for high-end French restaurants, executive chef for a private country club or county club, and most recently a chef for Bon Appetit at Google. So I am going to actually come off of screen sharing so that we can really have a conversation with Michael. And I'm going to ask Michael a series of questions, but I really encourage folks to drop a question in the chat because, you might have a question that comes up that other school food service teams might be interested in. But I'd love to make this a conversational style. So I'll start off with our first question, which is, Michael, welcome. Hello. My first question for you is, what motivated you to really push for a climate-friendly, plant-forward meal program at Morgan Hill?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Emma. Tough act to follow, Janelle. Thank you for kicking us off there. Well, as a chef in California for the last 25-ish years, I really wanted to bring some of the things that most recently I had learned while working with the Google Food Program. I operated the Google's only vegan cafe for over a year. I tell this joke a lot, but it's hard to pull one over on Googlers who eat at a vegan cafe because you can't just Google a recipe when you work for Google. Because you get like 15,000 people yelling answers at you simultaneously, so it's kind of tricky. But really, as the science and data has demonstrated, I think we all can make a difference no matter how small. So as soon as I became a director, I really just felt like it was my obligation to take this stewardship gift that I've been given to run a nutrition program for students and make it big as an impact as possible. And my time with Google, and I was there for 7 years. So I was there for kind of the heyday when Google Food was famous for foie gras and tuna and things like that, all the way down to where they became really committed to sustainable sourcing, working with local farms, working with local fishermen, working with local cows and lambs and things like that. So once I left, I just knew that wherever I ended up, I really wanted to continue that style of thinking. And thankfully, I landed up at a school district where I can kind of make some changes with the youth, the leaders of tomorrow.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, my second question, I would love to give a little background for folks, which is that when I first asked you about presenting your marketing strategy to other food service professionals for this session today, you said that you didn't think you were the right person to speak because your strategy is specifically to not market the plant-based climate-friendly dishes. Can you say a bit more about your no marketing strategy in the cafeterias for climate-friendly food, both with menu labeling and with organization and placement in the service lines?
Yeah, this might be fingers on a chalkboard for some people, but it's something that's worked for me as a chef. So really my overall strategy, or kind of like my moral compass for school nutrition, is that I treat the whole system like one giant high-end restaurant. I'm the chef, the students are my guests, and chefs at the high-end restaurants, they don't do taste tests, and they don't ask the guests what they'd like to see on the menu. A chef gets paid to wow you, to put something on the plate that will want you to, will make you want to have the next bite, or walk away from a meal, always remembering that meal as one of the best meals you ever had. High-end places don't market. I've never seen an advertisement for Alain Ducasse or Martin Barastegi's and, any of the 3-star restaurants in France. I don't see advertisements from the Ritz-Carlton or any of the places in New York. But you will see posted menus. Those places do have menus. Most of them, they're just a seasonal menu. It's online. It may not even be the actual menu for the day. But really, the students are my guests. And so I believe that it's my job to put something in front of them that will wow them. The second is menu labeling. And here's something that I really believe in. And that is, my strategy has never been to specifically market that the dish is saving the planet, or that it's vegan, or that it's gluten-free, or that it's healthy, but really just market that the dish tastes delicious. It's really a food-forward, a flavor-forward type ideology. The title of the dish, or how your team is talking to a high school student or talking to a little one, should make their mouth water. It should make their eyes get big. It should instill maybe a memory or something like that, like it does for adults. Nothing ever is really specifically called out as plant-based or vegetarian or vegan. I'd rather call out a flavor profile, a spice, a sweetness, or a crunch. And really, as I've really thought about this quite a bit, I feel like calling things out as vegan or vegetarian really starts to isolate that single dish. It's kind of like putting vegans in a silo, or kind of segregates them off, like to have its own specific, build your own this bar or something like that. So my approach has always been to add the dishes together, and try and encourage people to try that option through the title of the dish and try and sell it like that. We use Titan, which is a web-based meal platform. The menu posting doesn't really allow for kind of like little symbols and things like that, which I'm quite happy with, is fine with me. And really some of the marketing things that I use for that would be, a teriyaki pineapple burger on a sweet Hawaiian bun. Like right away, I think 3 flavors right there. I can taste it, kind of makes my mouth water. My green chili and bean tamale with salsa verde. Some of those titles just kind of have nice words in them. They can instill food thoughts. And really, food psychology 101 is something that Google was big into. A lot of people say it different ways, but basically, the first bite is always with your eyes. It gets translated by your brain. And you make sure that the student's choice is the best choice for both them and the planet. So my example is kind of the buffet line example. You never see prime rib and lobster at the beginning of a salad bar or at a beginning of a buffet line. It's always salad and veggies and fruits. This naturally works. It naturally works at schools because we put salad bars first. So that's kind of an easy win. However, I always stack the deck against the students, kind of like, playing cards or poker. The house is always going to win eventually. So in order to kind of like entice or force, if you will, students to try new things, they're always at the beginning of the line. So when little Johnny runs through the line and he grabs the first spoonful of garbanzo beans, chances are the kid right behind him is going to do the same thing, kind of herding cattle through. And so I like to put all the weird things, right at the front, jicama, soybeans, different things like that are always kind of at the front. While the familiar stuff like the cherry tomatoes and cucumbers, those are usually at the end of my salad bars.
That is such an interesting way to think about school food. Thank you so much for sharing that. My next question is, can you explain and provide examples on how you incorporate meat and cheese on your menu in conjunction with plant-based entrees? I know you said, putting certain things at the front of the line, for example, to encourage people to try those first, take those first. But even your green chili and bean tamale, I believe, is plant-based, and there's cheese on the side for that, if I remember correctly. So yeah, if you could just explain and provide some examples on how you incorporate meat and cheese on your menu in conjunction with the plant-based entrees.
Yeah, so that's a fun one. And there's a couple different ways to look at it, but kind of meat and cheese is the condiment, the plant forward movement and things like that Google and Stanford and the Culinary Institute of America have been working on for years, is kind of make meat the side dish. And so that's kind of been my thinking as I took over, and we run a vegetarian or vegan option 5 days a week at all schools. So there's always an option. Obviously with supply shortages, that's been a little bit trickier, but, and I only say trickier in the less availability of different options, but there's always something. For like pastas and salads, like our chef salads, the meats and the cheeses, we put in little 1 ounce cups. So they're on the side. So when the student comes up and wants the chef salad of the day, we can offer it to them as a completely vegan. We can give them the cheese, Parmesan cheese cup, or we can also offer the chicken, diced chicken to make it into a full-blown Caesar salad or something like that. And the same thing, like you pointed out, the green chili tamale, the mozzarella cheese is always on the side. Another way to tackle this, offer a black bean nacho plate, and put your diced chicken and your mozzarella cheese on the sides there. And if the student wants to go completely vegan, then the black bean nachos has all the things in it that are vegan. And then the chicken and cheese are off to the side for that. My real favorite tactic, though, is the meat versus veggie battles. And I always, and this does two things. So I love to pair a super popular dish like my green chili tamale up against another super popular meat dish. So think burgers or chicken nuggets or something like that. And this one's fascinating for me. But it really does two things. First, it just verifies to me that people like good food, no matter what box you want to put it in, like vegan or vegetarian. And the second is we end up serving less meat this way. So if I run a burger up against, sun butter and jelly sandwich at one school, and of course the burger just kills and 5 people take the sun butter and jelly, I've served a lot of meat that day. But if I run that same burger up against the tamale or chicken tikka masala or a cauliflower tikka masala and run a vegetarian dish up against the meat dish, I'm going to probably go 50-50. And in some cases, in the tamale case,
Wow.
in the tikka masala case, it might go, 75-25 in favor of the veggie. So I love doing the battles. Some people put their vegetarian dish as kind of like their star, but I really like to have the battle to kind of cancel out the meat sales.
I love that. I love that strategy. And I love that the performance has paid off, it sounds like, on your end. Thanks for sharing. And so I just kind of wanted to go back to what you're talking about with your no marketing strategy. When you first described this strategy for me, I kind of called it sneaky marketing, which you didn't quite agree with. Now, can you share with folks today why you didn't quite agree with that assessment?
I didn't really think, I didn't think I was trying to be sneaky. I just believed in the flavors. I think the flavors will sell the dish. It's not sneaky that the green chili tamale is just really good. Like, it just tastes delicious. And so whatever you're serving that with, that's just going to be a good dish. And really, I always taste all of my food at the end of service. So I just like to know what that last burger or the last nugget tastes like at the very end of the day or at the very end of lunch. So I really just wanted to truly be able to believe in the program. So yeah, I think that was kind of the anti-sneaky marketing.
Well, and I know you do some sort of marketing. And so I was wondering if you could explain for folks, how do you market new plant-based items when you put them on the line, on its first day when it's shown to students?
There's really not too much. It's kind of on the day. My team is usually armed with the sexy title of the food to like really kind of make sure that we're calling it exactly what we want to call it, so we get ahead of the narrative. At the beginning of March, I removed all beef burgers from my high school menus. I didn't tell anybody that I did it. The menu just stopped saying 100% all beef burger. We just stopped saying that. And so what we now say is, I've given my team a couple options based on supply. We've been running the teriyaki pineapple burger on the Hawaiian bun. And we've been running a Santa Fe Chipotle burger with pepper jack cheese. And both of those come with a plant-based patty. Don Lee Farms sells a really good one. I know Impossible sells one. Prager's sells one. So there's a couple different ones out there. Some of them do credit, some of them don't credit for the MMA. So you got to be careful about that. But I didn't tell anybody. And rather than really call out the fact that I'm taking away a burger, I said, here's a better burger.
Yeah. Hey, enjoy this new thing.
Like instead of saying, hey, here's a vegan burger, we hope you like it, and there's some stuff you can put on the side with it, we'd say, hey, enjoy our new teriyaki burger. Like, it's on a Hawaiian bun. We think you'll like it. Enjoy, or something like that.
And we have a chat regarding that. Actually, someone just asked, did participation go down when you did that? And that happened, I guess, earlier this month. So I'm not sure if you have any data on it yet, but
I know that we prepped, so we're not a huge district. It's 8,200 kids. I have 13 schools. I have 2 high schools plus a continuation high school. And we would sell anywhere from like 500 to 600 meals at one of the high schools a day. And we'd run, right now we're running 3 or 4 options. So at any one of those could sell over 100, if we do it correctly. And so we prepped about 150 burgers, and all 150 burgers were gone. And the walking around and just kind of talking to people who are eating the burgers, everybody seemed to really like it. They enjoyed the new Hawaiian bun. And none of them could tell me that it was a vegetarian patty. And I didn't tell anybody it was a vegetarian patty. I just wanted the flavor to speak for itself. And then maybe later get back into the marketing of it or something. I haven't really thought it the whole way through, to be honest.
Thanks for sharing. Looks like we have someone raising their hand. Kelly, I'm going to have you come off mute here.
Yeah, hi. It sounds like you have a super cool program, and actually our school is similar size. We have 16 schools, about 7,000 kids. I really like how you run your school as kind of this like fancy restaurant kind of mentality. And I was just hoping you could kind of talk to like your operations. I mean, do you guys have a central kitchen? Are you scratch made? And then also like, it sounds like you're serving pretty high end, pretty nice items. Maybe it's just your great marketing and your titles, but could you kind of talk about like how you approach the cost of your food and, are there like certain pieces of menu that you tend to sink your dollars in, or just kind of how you approach that?
So when I took over, the school district was running like 65% food cost. And actually, the superintendent just asked me this question last week. She wanted to know the breakdown of what my meals cost for lunch, what they cost for dinner, what they cost for breakfast. And to be honest, I didn't. I'm not able to really actually. I don't want to get down into the weeds on what each dish costs. I feel like that limits my creativity as a chef and as someone who wants to give the students, the best meal possible. But prior to COVID, I had knocked that down to 53% food cost. And then I just started crunching the numbers as of November, and we were running a 40%, a 39%, a 36%, and it jumped back up to 40% food costs. So I think that oftentimes good food gets confused with price. We're running 100% organic vegetables. My 3 farms that we purchased from are local and organic. They're 32 and 31 miles away. And then my produce company is Daylight Produce here in the Bay Area. And I emailed them at the beginning of the year, and I said, I only want my produce guides for my teams to be stocked with 100% organic or local products. Those are the priorities, and then everything else is secondary. So if they're unable to find something that's local or organic, then they give me the conventional. So I think by giving people better food, participation has gone up. It's kind of one of those things where you kind of gotta put up the money to make the money. And I think sometimes the directors get bogged down by like gotta meet the red line and break even, or hope to just be breaking even. My program was never breaking even. We started making money, unfortunately, due to the pandemic. With regards to the central kitchens, this was another kind of controversial move. I disbanded the central kitchens. We had 8 elementary schools and 2 middle schools. Each of those sites had 1 person only. They were receiving, pre-made food wrapped in cellophane that was condensation. It never looked good. The kids didn't know what was inside. It just looked like this deprecating donut that kept feeding into itself. So I had 10 employees at each of the 2 high schools were my central kitchens. And I had 10 employees there. So what I did was I broke down the central kitchens and sent the staff out to the elementary schools and the middle schools. So then every school had 2 people and the high schools had 5. So then my high schools only took care of themselves. They still received product, and my shipping team sends foods out to the elementaries and the middles. But now the middles and the elementaries are responsible for all their own speed scratch and all their own fresh salad bars. So they are all their own little mini restaurants. And once moving into that pattern, it was very easy to start buying bulk items. It was easier to start buying organic items and then stocking the salad bars. It was actually less labor to just open up a 5-pound bag of baby carrots and dump it into a pencil pan and throw it into a salad bar than to deal with all the pre-wrapped stuff and looking at dates, and things were moldy, and lettuce from the USDA is junk. And I don't know, it was much easier to treat them all like little restaurants. And that was a big challenge. Everybody who's listening to this might be thinking, well, we can't possibly do that. Our kitchen's way too small. Well, I've got some little shoebox kitchens. They had, 1 refrigerator, 1 freezer, maybe a milk cooler. They had this horrible, and I'm just not familiar with it, but it was like a CVAP oven. And so I applied for a breakfast grant early on. I scored the breakfast grant. So we started just slowly replacing CVAP ovens with dual stacked Blodgett convection ovens, and started, putting out crispier French fries and crispier chicken nuggets and food that you could actually see that wasn't wrapped in plastic. And the program just snowballed from there. But it was a huge gamble, and nobody really thought it was going to work except me.
Well, congratulations on everything you've done for the district. I see Ben has his hand raised, and Alva's got a question in the chat, but unfortunately, we do have to move on to our next speaker. So Michael, if you could actually hop into the chat. Alva has a question around
Sure.
ingredients and whether or not you post those online. And Ben, if you could pop your question into the chat for Michael to answer, love that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone, again, for all of that. All right. And next up, we are going to move over to from Meatless Monday. I shared some of their materials earlier today, and I'd love for her to present to you all just kind of some of the materials that Meatless Monday has and what's coming down the pipeline from both Friends of the Earth and Meatless Monday. So Joy, take it away.
Great, thank you. So happy to be here and love these presentations. Would absolutely love to replicate Janelle and Michael and just make them the whole Meatless Monday plan for going out to schools. So I work on our US programs, our marketing, communications, content, and amongst other sectors like K through 12. So for this presentation, if you want to go to the next slide, I'm really going to be teeing up the partnership that we have with Friends of the Earth. And so slightly contrary to Michael's marketing strategy, we are developing a marketing program and materials that can be used out of the box for any K through 12 to support the plant-based options and hopefully participation and helping to educate about the different benefits of plant-based options. But we really want to solicit your feedback during this process to make sure that it's relevant and useful. We can sit behind our desks and do this, or we can make it as great as it can be, and that is by picking your brains. So if you want to go to the next slide. So after this, there's going to be a breakout session, and we would really love your help with understanding kind of what your needs are, like what information do you need from us to help you. And so we want to look at, what marketing channels do you use? So for that could be, do you use a lot of social media when you are going to release a new menu item? Do you talk about, do you just use your cafeteria line? Do you want table tents? That type of kind of more logistics. And then also, what resources do you need? Are you looking for plant-based recipes, or do you have enough and you just don't have supporting collateral to help communicate the benefits of those or the deliciousness of those? And then, every school district and every population is different. And so, there's no one right way to talk about plant-based options. And so we really want to hone in on which messages work best for various student populations. And it doesn't have to be just one. There's a lot of different ways to talk about it. But typically the three areas that we focus on are health, the environment, and the forward food, so the flavor and the deliciousness of plant-based options. And then the other areas that we're looking at to help develop these materials are, who are you speaking to the most and where is your biggest need? Is it the students, or are the students totally on board and they're feeling it? And it's the staff and the parents that need a little bit more of the nudge, or some combination of that. And the other aspect, it would be great to get some additional information and assistance with, is age group specific communication. So we have a lot of information and tools that are very applicable to more of the middle and high school students. But the younger students, we want to make sure that whatever we're producing is the most can communicate to a student of any age. Go on to the next slide. So I really appreciate everyone who filled out this survey. So the top line summary is that most people are looking for bulk recipes and ready to use marketing. And of course, no surprise, additional budget. So we can probably tackle the top two on these. So when we go into the breakout sessions, it'd be really helpful if there's any more specificity that you want to add around bulk meals. Are you looking for like a large database, or would you like a top 25 list of recipes that have marketing materials along with that? And then in terms of the ready to use marketing, would you want a social media campaign about carbon emissions? Do you want a social media campaign about lentils? Do you need, table tents? Do you need digital signage? What would make it what would be the most useful for you in terms of being able to, hit a button and push send, or print it out and easily put it up in your cafeteria. And so what kind of stood out, it seems like for most folks, is that they communicate the various benefits of plant-based or what's on the menu in the cafeteria line in the weekly menus, which I know the weekly menus can be a little bit limited in terms of how much information is being, additional information is communicated. And then a lot of groups are using social media, mostly Instagram, which is a pretty wide open space in terms of what can be communicated there. So if you want to go to the next slide. So for the next few slides, I'm just going to give you a little tiny taste of some of the joint materials we're working on. As Emma mentioned, we have so many materials, so this is not exhaustive by any means, but wanted to use this just more as kind of food for thought going into these next conversations about what might be of interest, and if there's areas that you would like expanded upon, or something that we haven't really shown here that would be of interest. So thankfully there are unlimited benefits of plant-based, of the unlimited environmental benefits for plant-based options. So we can be very general, or we can go more specifically into any of these options. We also have the ability to talk more specifically about, what the impact might be at a specific school or district. Like if the cell phone charging, we can translate carbon emissions or water into kind of those more specific campaigns. And also there is a wide open space for introducing the environmental benefits of plant-based ingredients that might be on the menu. There's thousands though, so this is where we could use some help in narrowing it down. If we're going to our plant-based protein of choice is going to be lentils or black beans, and there's some not consensus, but if we see a large number of districts using similar items, we can certainly go deeper into that more ingredient area. And so we are keenly interested in like what type of environmental information might be most interesting to your students. The next slide. And then it's a question, and we also have the answers, thankfully. Is there concern about the nutrition of plant-based options in your school or your district, either with students or with the parents? We hear some about protein. Some school districts, it doesn't come up. People are pretty well informed about the plant-based options. So there's a lot of different ways that we can communicate these benefits, but definitely want to get ahead of any concerns that might pop up. And then the same with health benefits. Kids feel pretty invincible. Most older adults who reduce their meat consumption, it's because of health. Kids are a little bit different. So, when we talk about the health benefits, that can be specifically about meat reduction. It can be about ingredients. It can also, address public health issues that might be more relevant in specific areas around prediabetes or diabetes. So there's a lot of different room for this. And again, marketing of the benefits of plant-based options, it doesn't have to be all or nothing. So if you are putting these materials out, either social media or within your cafeteria space, if you find that some resonate really well and some don't, then you can flex those up and down. But, we find even with our own channels, the food marketing is really important, but, but we get a lot of other options here. Okay. I know I'm running close on time. So at the end of the day, we want your food to be famous, not infamous. And so if Michael can come to all of basically everywhere, I think we can probably solve for that. But since we probably can't replicate him, it is important to make sure that the food looks great. And there's a lot of different ways to communicate the plant-based without using plant-based. And I think that is an important aspect to bring into the conversation as well. Okay. And then finally, we will have a lot of supplemental information also to be able to bring Meatless Monday and plant-based eating home with students, because that can also be quite impactful. Students are very good at driving change within their home environments as well. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. And I'm looking forward to seeing your feedback in the next sessions.
Thank you so much, Joy. And without further ado, I think this is a great transition to our breakout session all around marketing. So we are now going to transition into breakout groups. In these breakout groups, I'd love for all of you to add your names into the Jamboard. So I'm going to share Nora just shared the Jamboard link in the chat. Please click on that, open it in the browser. Essentially, we're going to put you into groups and you're going to answer some questions, have a discussion with everyone else in your breakout room. All right, here we go. I'm going to put us all into groups. Our closeout question for you all to think about, and I'd love for you to share your answers in the chat, which is, what is one thing, from today's session that you thought about or learned that you want to bring back to your district, to your food service team to try and implement? Is it a student engagement strategy? Is it a marketing strategy? Is it a menu labeling strategy? If you want to share with folks, one thing you're going to take back to your district to try and implement. Can I bring Janelle? Yeah. I love that. Or maybe it's the thing you're going to take back, Rosa, is finding the partner organizations or funding for a farm to school program person at your district.
I think one thing is you can't be afraid to try.
Yeah.
Like maybe he tries the pineapple burger and maybe people don't like it. That's okay. Now you learn they don't like pineapple on the burger. Next time you put a green chili on the burger. I mean, you can't be afraid to try. You can't just say, well, I'm only going to do things that I'm going to be successful at, because then you'll never do anything at all.
I love that. I think that's really important. Thank you so much, Sally, for sharing that. Yeah, and I'm loving to see what's in the chat right now. Just to read some off: flavor forward dishes, letting the taste speak for itself. A lot on the flavors. I'm not getting stuck on the label of a product. So thank you all for sharing your strategies. I'm going to turn it over to Nora to talk about our next session, which is going to be in 2 weeks.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Emma, for leading this call while I'm out on vacation in Puerto Rico. I took a pause from my vacation to join all of you, and it's great to have you all on the call. I feel like this has been a conversation that we've had for a really long time. Is like food packaging, wasted food, and how do we reduce this? So we're going to dive in. I feel like we could probably do 10 sessions on this next topic, but we're going to really condense it. And we're going to hear from our peers and some really great experts on our call. So please don't miss it. It's going to be a really good session, Wednesday, March 30th. So that's going to be 2 weeks from now. And then session 5, I think I'll talk a little bit more about this next time, but I think session 5, we're going to do a lot more breakout groups and conversations and a little more resource sharing, because this is a peer-to-peer learning, and I want to have a little bit more time for breakout discussions. So I am planning on dedicating some time for that in our session 5. So stay tuned for that. It should be really good. And our next session is going to be really great. It's going to be jam-packed. Yeah, so please come to that. And thank you all so much. And thanks, Emma, for taking over while I'm out here on the beach.
Yeah, it's an honor, Nora. Yeah, so here's some contact information from our team. You've all probably seen all of us before, hopefully. Lucy's also on the call. Hi, Lucy. And again, for a schedule, and please visit our peer learning agenda website. And if you have any questions for Janelle or Joy or Michael, their emails will be in follow-up resources, as well as, in the chat, if you wanted to scroll up and look in the chat.